Hello everyone. This is not a type of video I usually like to make, as I usually don't like to delve into anything involving drama, but I feel this is a big enough thing in the VTuber community, which I hold very close and very dear, being a VTuber myself. I'm sorry, my throat was a little dry. That I feel I should communicate what I think in this specific uh, aspect of what's going on. Just as a primer of what has been happening, there is a VTuber historian, as he calls himself, called Depressed Nosagi. A Nosagi is basically a follower of Usada Pekora, one of Hololive Japan's third generation, I believe, to come out. He is a VTuber lover. He's an enjoyer of VTubers just like I am. He enjoys Hololive just like I do. I have been a follower of his for quite some time, pretty much close to when he was very small and then he got a lot larger. And from most of what I have seen from him, he had tried to be very even. Of course, everybody has their own skin in the game, their own things to say about all these different things that happen in the VTuber community. There are biases that are always inherent in what you say and what you do and what goes on. He tried, from what I saw in at least his publicly available non-Patreon videos, tried to make it a view of parasocialism, which happens a lot in VTuber communities. The basic understanding of parasocialism is a more than fan connection to a VTuber, a personality, VTuber, YouTuber, entertainer, etc., where you start feeling like you're emotionally connected to them, or you have more skin in the game, like for what they're doing, like what Uraharushia was cultivating, and Vox cultivates, and other VTubers out there cultivate. Whether they do that or not, or cultivate it or not, is their prerogative. I don't have a value judgment on that. Parasocialism can lead to some bad situations where people want to cancel you because you are no longer what they believe you once were. In the example of Toa from Hololive, where she had a situation where a male voice was heard when she was doing her VTubing stuff, and some people that had the parasocial relationship with her or saw her in parasocial light decided to try and kind of get her canceled, which is wrong, honestly. I'm just putting BGM because I don't want it to be. I can't really choose a good or bad BGM per se. I'm just putting something out there. But that's pretty much like a background of what's going on with that. I saw him as more of a person who was trying to be a force of good in the community. There are a lot of things that have come to light recently that may change your perception of who this person is, or may even taint it overall if you have had no experience with him before. And I could fully understand that aspect of it, because what he did was not good. The general story behind what he did was to make it quick and easy, but not too quick where I lose a lot of info. He has a Patreon, basically a paywall, where he has certain videos behind this paywall. Certain videos specifically in regards to, maybe a little bit more risque commentary on the VTuber community, etc. From what I have gathered, because I'm not a part of his Patreon. I don't do Patreons. I don't do most of those things because I just generally my things going on in my life have more precedent, and paying, hey Scotty, know how you doing, and paying more attention to that to what goes on in my personal life when it comes to paying things and things like that. So I don't do that side of it. Now, that's not to say I don't have parasocial bonds with my Oshis as well. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about a current event that's going on in the VTuber community. It has blown up a lot bigger than I ever expected because I didn't expect it to be this big. There is a VTuber historian, a VTuber person who follows VTubers called Depressed No Sagi, and the gist of what's happening is he doxed girls from Hololive EN, I believe, Gura, Amelia, from EN Myth, it looks like, more than anything. I don't know about if there was anything else, but the allegations that are going about right now are that he did do those things. Now, from what I have seen, from the stories that I've seen of other VTuber news people doing these types of stories, is that it wasn't like, it wasn't necessarily, you know, real names, real addresses, etc., those types of things. But they did have real faces out there of the personalities. Gargura, a lot of people know who she was in the past, because it's like, you hear her voice, you hear what she does, what she says, and you know who, if you had been following VTubers in the past, or you've been following people like her in the past, you know who she is. Same thing with Kiara. I know who Kiara is in real life, and like, not like an actual person. I know her current VTube channel that's still going on. She has a VTuber channel that's still going on. The background is Kaon. It's a background of Kaon, all the girls from Kaon. If it's no, sir, it's no. It usually, people dig pretty deep into their VTuber Oshis, especially when it comes to Hololive, which is a humongous company. So it is possible to figure out who these people were in the past, at least their online personas. I know exactly who's online, because basically Kiara is oh, the porn meme, nice. Nice. Kiara has her current live persona where she shows her actual face. I'm not gonna mention it here. If you dig deep enough, you're gonna find it. I found it. In fact, it was recommended to me by YouTube once, because of a clip of her using the name Kiara in that IRL stream. Now, of course, as an IRL streamer, she's been on for way longer than she has been Kiara. But she's been allowed by Hololive, as Hololive does all the time, because Hololive, their main rule, from what I understand, from what I have been told, and from the knowledge that I have, Hololive has a doctrine with their talents. At first, I believe their doctrine was, you have to cancel your old persona, delete it, make sure it doesn't exist. On their new directive is, your old persona and your new persona are two different entities. They do not intermix, they do not intermingle. Do not mention Hololive personas on your IRL or previous VTuber account. Do not mention your previous VTuber account, anything related to it in Hololive. As far as Hololive is concerned, they are two different identities, two different people overall. One should not mix with the other. That's part of their NDA, that's part of their contract. Now, that doesn't preclude people from actually finding out who they were. As I said, when Kiryu Koko came out, I quickly found out who she was before. When some of them I don't look up very much, but for example, what's her name? One of the it's not Marin, it's fucking not Fubuki. It's one that's perverted. I know several of Hololive's previous personas because they're still doing it. In fact, some of them had IRL personas, and you can tell by the voice because they're not using a voice character to do their thing. Like Pekora uses a voice character, so whatever voice she had before, she's not using it. Someone like Ayandu Risu from Indonesia also uses a voice character, as like she uses her voice talent for it. Thank you for lurking the rest of the stream. I appreciate it. Hi, Kirby. The thing is, hololive does not appreciate, and a lot of fans don't appreciate when you bring that out to the public. Worst of all, when you paywall it. In fact, there's some VTuber, quote unquote, historians, VTuber people that actually do VTuber face reveals, where basically they will take available information and have the face reveals. Like, I know what Mio looks like in real life. I know what Fubuki and a lot of other hololive members look like in real life because of them. Now, you can argue whether that's good or bad. If they're still running their other personas, there is that risk. Of course, there's no intermingle. There's no cross pollination, across, advertisement on those individuals. But I know who a lot of these hololive personalities are, who they are IRL, who they were, like in the sense, not IRL, who they are in their YouTube personas, who they were before they went into hololive. Now, of course, I have, even though I have subscribed to many of them, I don't mix the two. Okami Mio is Mio. Kiara is Kiara. Who she is in the IRL YouTube space is who she is in the IRL YouTube space. Never mix the two. For example, now, at this point in time, it is widely known. It is publicly available information. This is not doxing anybody. Everybody knows. But back when she was Coco, Kei-san, you would not say anything. You would not be like, oh, you wouldn't call her Coco Kaicho if you were talking to Kei-san. You wouldn't do that. You won't do that. That's not what you do. Same thing with Rushia, who she was in the past. Same thing with the Delutaya, who she is now, and who she was as a hololiver. You don't mix the two. You don't do that. And worst of all, you don't paywall that information. If it's publicly available information, it is okay for you to put it out there in a public format. As long as it's not one of those, like, this is her phone number, this is their email address, this is their actual address, even if it's out there. Unless they put it right on their Twitter, and they put it right to be seen, you do not do that. That is a faux pas. That is just something that is not good. Like I said, it's a little bit different with Kei-san and Nazuna, because a lot of people know who they are and who they were when they were with their larger organization. A lot of them already know who they were. And the issue is, what the press Nosagi did, he seemingly, from what people have said and what people have seen, used the Patreon. This is all allegations, of course, until he comes out and says anything, which I think he has. I'm going to watch the video of him saying what he said, and to give his side of the story. And even he recognized it wasn't a great thing. From what I understand, that he did is he made a Patreon video talking about all the things that these hololivers have done in their past, how they got to where they were, kind of like behind the VTuber, or like behind the music, as they do, like, that type of thing, the whole career of this person. The issue is, the hololivers, especially ones that have stopped producing on their old account, they're doing it for a reason. They don't want to have that old account become public knowledge again. They have abandoned it. If they have officially abandoned it and have just decided, they just leave it because, that site has fans, and for example, Ngura's old one has like over 1 million fans already. You're not going to destroy a whole account and private it because there's 1 million fans that's going to be losing out on people, on things that you did before. People who are fans a lot of times want to watch what you did in the past. They want to reminisce about those moments that they loved about you. They want to reminisce about those good times they had. Why do you think, even though Kiryu Koko moved on, and she's on in her own world right now, the dragon is gone for now. She's on, and she will be back when she'll be back, whenever that is. Why do you think that hololive decided, we're going to keep this in perpetuity? We're going to make sure that this is here for the fans. Of course, no longer taking memberships, because that's no longer an active account. Subscriptions are the same, but no longer memberships. No, any of the members only stuff done, any any of that stuff done. But they keep it in perpetuity because there are fans that would hate to lose all of the wonderful things that that personality did. Now, here's the issue that happens is that although this isn't like the worst form of doxing, it is a form of doxing. And in this space, in the VTuber space, your identity is everything. You're a VTuber because you don't want your face to be seen. At least I am. I don't mind my voice being heard. I don't mind my real voice being heard and my real personality being put out here for you guys. I don't mind that at all. That's what I do. That's what I am. That's how I am. But I don't want people to know my IRL personality because that's why I'm a VTuber. I don't just use my name as my VTuber persona. If I did that, I might as well just make myself an IRL streamer and have people see my face. There's a reason I do this as a VTuber. I don't want my face to be seen. I don't want these things, even if it's still publicly available information. Probably somewhere you could find it. Yes, doxing drama. Unfortunately, doxing drama. With the Press Nosagi and Hololive EN. Now, from what I know, it was Gura, Amelia specifically, Gura, and Kiara. Kiara, the issue that people have with the Kiara one is that it was during a traumatic event that happened to her. I don't know exactly the details of it, but he used a video of a traumatic event where she showed her face and stuff like that. I don't know if it was something that went on with her family. I don't know. No one doxed me. No one doxed me, luckily. Luckily, no one doxed me. But another VTuber, big VTubers, were being doxed today. And I'm just mentioning that for me, I would hate to be doxed, even if it's publicly identifiable information. For example, let's just put a hypothetical out there. Which, I mean, it's a hypothetical that would be great for me in my personal life. But, you know, it could lead to things changing around here. If I were to say, let's say, move on to a larger organization, be picked up by a VTuber agency. Because, you know, a lot of independents like me would like that to happen because, you know, they have managerial experience, they can help protect you legally and all the kind of stuff that you have to worry about as an independent. Now, if I were to move on to another organization, let's say hololive, just as a hypothetical. Yes, exactly. I agree, Mike, 100%. If I have my face, or if I put my face anywhere in my Twitter, in my profile, in anything, the state that I'm in, the country that I'm in, anything of that sort, then it is my responsibility, it is my fault if it gets out there. It is not doxing in the strictest form. It is basically making publicly identifiable information more public, I guess. That can be considered a form of doxing for some people. For me, it would be my own fault for putting that information out there. I would only mention things like that to people I truly trust, that no matter what, even if they end up hating me in the future, they won't go and dox me in this way. It's very hard to trust someone like that. And it's very hard to build up that trust once it's been lost. Now, it could be argued that, for example, Gura, since she doesn't do any voice acting, she uses her own voice, from what I can tell. And so does Kiara. Kiara uses her own voice, and so does Mori Calliope, or Calliope, however you want to say it. A lot of the EN girls seem to be that type where they use their own voice. So if you were to search hard enough, you would, and let's say they didn't delete all previously public information on their previous persona, you'd be able to find it. For example, like I said, YouTube recommended me people who I ended up finding, for example, through YouTube and their recommendation algorithm. I ended up finding out who Mio was, Okami Mio from Hololive. I ended up finding out who Kiryu Koko was from Hololive. I ended up finding out who Rushia had been before. I ended up finding out who Kiara was. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but Kiara. Who Gura was. All these people, if their personas are still around, you can find them if you look hard enough in YouTube. That's not doxing. Not a problem. You got banned from a community for clicking on the streamer's Discord profile and seeing their Facebook in there, linked accounts, and told my friends who were in the community. I don't know how she found out I got banned. Oh, well, like you said, it is their fault for having that stuff there. If you're not doing enough infosec or informational security, it is your responsibility. If you have that linked to your Discord, either the server or your profile itself, it is your fault for being found out at that point. Because you don't do that if you don't want your actual persona to be found. For example, I have my own Facebook, like my own real Facebook. I don't have a Facebook for this personality, but I don't link that at all. I have a real Twitter. But I don't link that at all. If you are immature enough and not security based enough to secure your data, which is in this world, your data, your profile, your identity is everything. Once that is lost, if your real identity is lost and used by someone else, you cannot do anything. You can't get credit. You can't buy things. You can't do things because the trust is no longer there. And trust is huge in not only VTuber community, but other communities overall as well. Now, this is long-winded because this is very important to be as impartial as I can. Of course, I do have some skin in the game because I am a VTuber. I do have some partiality in the sense that, like I mentioned, being fully upfront, open, and transparent with you guys. I am a subscriber of Depressed Nosagi, the one who's in trouble right now. But I want to remain as objective as I can. Of course, everyone has their biases based on how they've lived life. Now the issue that people have with him is that, number one, a lot of this information wasn't made public by hololive or anyone else. So it is kind of an unspoken rule that he broke in the VTuber community of doxing, of letting that information out. Just today, because it was something that hit me, because it's a part of the community that I'm a part of. And I'm actually thinking of like branching out and just trying these things. If people don't like it, like they're saying, you shouldn't be doing drama topics, then I'll drop it. I like doing like news and things like that. So with all that being said, let's hear it from the horse's mouth themselves. This is the video that came out today, because yesterday is when the news broke, from what I know. It had been going on since I think the weekend or something like that, or maybe before. But the news broke on larger news channels of VTubers about Depressed Nosagi and what he did. Now, this is it from his mouth, himself. And luckily, he doesn't seem to be unapologetic. He seems to understand that he fucked up, and he fucked up bad. He fucked up big. It wasn't a small fuck up in any way, shape, or form. It was a big one. Because like I said, in this community, trust is everything. You don't have the trust anymore, you're may as well be dead in the community, to the community. So let me make myself smaller, and let me just let this person speak for themselves. And I'm gonna shut the BGM down as well. Let me get the BGM for now. Shut it down while we let him speak.
Thanks for coming to the video. I was aware of what's been happening, and I apologize it took me this long to address it. I needed to clear my thoughts and wanted to make sure I made this video with a level head. There's been things going around me, but first things first, is it true that I discussed the past lives of VTubers on my members and Patreon? Yes. I know that's all the information a lot of you needed to hear, but I feel like I need to address a few assumptions and misinformation because it goes deeper than this. I wanted to discuss VTubers and their stories in a greater context than just their current personas. To avoid this content appearing publicly for anyone to stumble across it unwillingly, I put it on my Patreon. I said that I had this kind of content throughout my channel's history. I never sought to hide it from my viewers, and who might be also interested in that content. What happened wasn't some gotcha moment or a secret thing that I've been doing behind the scenes. I did my best to be transparent about it. When I announced my Patreon, I even made an entire video about it back in March. While I always tell my viewers to support me by joining my membership or Patreon, I don't use the past life aspect as part of its appeal when I do. In fact, I don't tell people the perks of my Patreon in my videos at all. They discover that themselves when they're interested enough to actually look at my page. It's my way of giving people a layer or an obstacle from the information, my own way of containing it. I never deceived or intended to deceive my audience. A lot of people have also spread misinformation surrounding those videos too, saying that I put in their addresses, numbers, or whatever sensitive and dangerous information that the talents had, but those are all untrue. The things that I put in those videos have no actionable content whatsoever. What I did was just merely go over their history on the internet, telling their journey along the way and how they broke into VTubing. I've privated my Patreon and my exclusive content, but anyone who has seen those videos would know that those videos weren't made with malicious intent, that they aren't as bad as a lot of people painted them to be, that I was just telling their story as truthfully and artfully as best I could. I don't think just publicly making videos about the past and faces and whatever of VTubers with an intent to expose them is a good thing. I think that's bad. But that's not what I did. I told their story as gracefully as I could.
Now, here's the problem with that. There is a problem that occurs there. I can understand trying to be responsible, trying to be a responsible member of the community, and being like, oh shit, this information, if it's just publicly out there, and I publicly state it, then, people could say things. I can see that aspect of what he's saying. But the problem is, it will not be perceived that way. As it wasn't perceived that way. And perception is everything in this game. When you're a VTuber, someone talking about VTubers, someone just in the VTuber sphere, a fan, a clipper, whatever it is, once the perception becomes that you are a danger to the community or that something that you did was a faux pas, you're done, unfortunately. What he did was not necessarily, like he said, he didn't dox them with their personally identifiable information, nothing to bring them actual actionable harm. And that may very well be true. The problem here is that putting it behind a paywall gives the perception that you knew something was wrong. You knew that what you were doing was not correct. That is the perception. Like I said, it may not actually be true that you did something like that was meant to be that way. Hey, Diamond, how you doing? Hey, Jesus. Quachinango versus Goku. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Thank you both for being here on the YouTube side. The problem is, once you put it behind a paywall, like Patreon, it will be perceived as a gotcha moment. It will be perceived as intent to hide from the majority of people, or intent to cause harm, or like you knowing that you're doing something wrong, and that's why you hide it behind a paywall. Like I said, taking him at his word, he didn't mean to do it that way, but it's how you're perceived. If, like, there's another VTuber drama thing going on with some whale VTuber who's seen as a copier, etc., that's going off topic, but, he's perceived as being a bad person now, so he's not going to be easily welcomed into the community again. It's all on how you're perceived. And this thing that he did gives horrible perception overall. But let's continue to hear what he says.
How they came up on the internet, their struggles, how they overcame it, their highs in life, how they celebrated achievements, their goals, what they wanted in life, how VTubing changed them. I treated their information delicately and pursued telling them in the most artistic way I could. But I suppose most people's problem is that I never should have made those videos in the first place. That it doesn't matter if I did it tastefully. There was no excuse for talking about past lives. That what I did was still wrong, and that putting it behind a paywall makes it worse.
And that's exactly what I said. That the thing is, when it is a widely understood, official understanding, that when a VTuber goes into their new persona, Whether it is they graduated and they moved on and they created a new persona later because they love VTubing so much that they decided to come back. If that's the case. If it's the case that they went on to a larger agency, but they didn't graduate their old VTuber persona and are just on hiatus or keep using it for goodness sakes. You don't mix the two. That is the way that it has officially been for as long as I have been in the whole VTubing sphere, whether being having Oshis or whatever, which has been like over 2 years now. Since before the pandemic started, I was into the VTubing rabbit hole with Watame and them. When the third generation came out, that's when I got into the VTuber rabbit hole. And now when they're on Holo X, which is their sixth generation of hololive. So since then, I've been into that, and I've understood if I ever find them in their other personas, I do not mix the two. Each persona gets respected in their own right. I've already said this before, and I'm repeating it again, but I'm repeating it because of what he's saying right now.
And to that, I don't honestly have a response that may satisfy you. Yes, I knew it was taboo, but I still did it anyway, not because of the money, but because I wanted to tell their stories. I wanted to tell it to an audience that wanted to seek it, without the rats and misinfo that 4chan or other archiving sites may have. This is why I didn't just upload those videos for the public and outright share them.
Oh, I can understand this point that he's making as well. I'm sorry that I'm interrupting this so much, but I need to at least, instead of just copying all this guy's stuff here and not being transformative, I want to make it transformative. When it comes to that, I can absolutely understand that as having Oshis myself, being a fan myself for as many years as I have been. Hey, Pebbles Plays, good morning. Thank you for stopping by at all. And thank you for talking and saying happy streaming. Right now, just doing a little bit of catching up on some VTuber news and stuff like that. There's this whole drama thing that's happening with Depressed No Sagi on Twitter, on the other spaces that he's a part of, and I'm just trying to put my 2 bits out there, I guess, as a VTuber myself. Yes, VTuber news, yes. Gist of it, since you just got here, he is being accused of doxing, like serious doxing, of hololive EN members, Kiara, Gura, Amelia, and others. Of course, he just did their publicly available information, but he broke an unofficial official rule in VTubing of not doing that, of allowing them to separate their old VTuber lives or IRL streamer lives, like in some of these cases it's IRL streamers, with their new hololive lives. They're supposed to be kept separate and secret. And just like if you find them, which I found a lot of them already, because just my recommendeds pop up in there and I find them. But I don't let that information out. I make sure not to bother each of them with their own things. I mean, like, if I know who Mio is in her other persona, I don't bother Mio's other persona, or bother Mio, or mix the two. I know who Kiryu Coco is in her new persona. I don't bother them or mix the two. I don't do any of that. The person who was before Kiryu Coco is themselves. The person who is Kiryu Coco is themselves. They're separate. He didn't do that. He was an overly enthusiastic fan who had parasocial bonds with the Oshis, which is normal. I mean, you can get parasocial bonds with people like that, especially in the pandemic that we've had, because they help you during really tough times. That's why I got into VTubing, because I wanted to help other people during tough times, just with having this little squirrel be here, and be crazy and play games and do all this kind of stuff. And later, Diamond Fox, thank you for being here. See you soon, hopefully. And thank you for stopping by, of course. That is something that for me is not inexcusable, but it's going to be hard as heck for him to come back. Hard as heck for him to come back as a trusted person in the community after this.
I didn't want it to be overt. It's why I never advertise the perks of my exclusive videos, so it's not readily available for just anyone. But I'm sorry to my fans, to the people that looked up to me, and to the VTubers that I have hurt. I don't know how what happened would affect everyone involved, but please know I haven't slandered anyone or put anyone in a dangerous situation. I know some viewers and fans are disappointed, but let it be known I never tried to deceive anyone. I know a lot of VTubers have lost their respect and don't want anything to do with me. They may even regret interacting with me. I know I have lost the goodwill and trust of many people.
And that's true. And here, like I said, I like being fully transparent. I'm subscribed to him. I've been subscribed to him for several months. Since before he created his Patreon, which was in March. It's fully transparent there to show that yes, I am subscribed to him, but that does not mean that I will treat him with kid gloves. It means that I understand some of the background of him and understand what he has done in the community in the past. Now, like I said, he's going to be a pariah now. And that may mean that it's probably best for him not to at least let this play off. Let his voice be heard, of course, which is good that he's doing. But let this just, not necessarily, it won't be forgotten. I can't say it'll be forgotten, but at least pass, at least let the anger pass. The issue is that no matter what you do, no matter who you are, there are going to be detractors. There are going to be people out there who don't like you. There are going to be people out there who will try to find a gotcha moment, who will try to find a moment where you have messed up, like he did in this situation, out of love and desire for the story, the success story of his Oshis, and the success story of the people that he holds dear in the VTuber community to be heard. He stepped on toes, and he did a faux pas. I'm repeating myself, but I just want that to be known that yes, I am a follower of his, I'm a subscriber of his, but that does not mean that I fully condone what was done. But I don't think he should be demonized as badly as he's being demonized right now. Kind of in the middle, kind of stuck on both sides. As a VTuber, I wouldn't want that done to me. Even if I had publicly identifiable information there, there's a reason why, let's say I had another VTuber persona, there's a reason why that one's not being mentioned ever. There's a reason why I don't have those socials mixed anywhere, because I don't want that known. I want that to remain separate. And as a VTuber, that is my aspect that I'm seeing there. That is what I'm putting out there.
But again, please know that was never my intention with my exclusive content. I just wanted to tell grander stories than what I already make for the public. Stories that were taboo, yes, but stories that I liked, found inspiring, and wanted to share with a few willing. From the day I started this channel, when I started that Patreon, I was always flying this close into the sun. But at the end of the day, I know people hate the bottom line of what I did. That I'm unforgivable in their eyes for it. Still, if you are one of those people and have made it this far into the video, I still want to thank you for at least hearing me out. If my address doesn't satisfy you, or if you are even more upset with this, then I'm sorry. Because this is all I can say. I'm still in denial of the reach and responsibility I have in the community now. Back when I still had 15k subs and 20k views a video, when I made my Patreon promising those content, I thought I was someone people sought unconventional knowledge from.
And
the
that's what
little
I
guy,
did.
too small.
And that's how I got to know him, because of his background stories that he did on just Kiryu Koko, on Nazuna, on Manoalo, which has moved on to a different persona. I'm not going to mix the two here either. Things like that. People who have taken parasocialism too far in their VTuber personas, people who have taken care to not be parasocial, the mistakes that hololive has made, the way that they grew, all that kind of stuff. It's basically VTuber history. I've gotten a lot of that from Nosagi and other people. And that's where I got him. I was like, oh, this person is doing things that others won't do because, you know, it might be a little bit taboo in that sense. Like, it's giving me information, and in some cases, information I did not know, because I'm a part of the hololive subreddit. I'm a part of VTuber subreddits. But sometimes you don't get the whole story there, because, of course, they're, like in the case of hololive, they're a corporation. They have to keep the PR up a certain way. They have to not spin the story, but not let out certain things because of NDAs, etc. And he wasn't letting out other things. Like, you can look through all this stuff. He wasn't letting out anything that wasn't openly available and be seen on actual YouTube and be popular on YouTube. He went and he said those stories, like when the thing happened with Russia, he did that. When it happened with Kiryu Koko, he did one on that. Manoalo, he did one months after. It wasn't right when it happened. It was months after it happened. And like a month or so, when all of the full story came out. The whole situation that happened with Hachima, the situation that happened with Toa, the situation that happens with Vox in Nijisanji, the stories that all those things, he waits for a lot of that information to come out. So he was a trusted source. He did break, like I said, a taboo, a big taboo, and I don't. For me, that doesn't affect how I see him as a person, but it does. It will change his perception in the community. And as I mentioned before, in this community and in other communities like it, perception is everything. You're perceived as the bad guy, you're not going to be welcome there anymore, and that's unfortunate.
For anyone to care about, skirting the edges of what was allowed in the community. I still think I was that channel. 20k or 200k views, it didn't change the way how I thought and saw myself and my content. I didn't think about the consequences offering that kind of knowledge would bring. I didn't realize the weight of my responsibility. And this whole incident was the wake-up call. But I've come to a decision to leave the rabbit hole. I've given it a few days of thought and it seems to make sense to me. I can handle the hate. I can handle the backlash because I can learn from it. I can right my wrongs.
This part that's coming up, because I've watched this before, because I kind of wanted to formulate my ideas on everything and just see what was going on. That leaving the rabbit hole, because they say VTubing is a rabbit hole. Once you enter into the rabbit hole, it's like Alice through the looking glass type of thing, where she went into the rabbit hole and it was much deeper than she could have ever imagined. That's what they consider VTubing. That's what they say. It's like an inside joke with VTubing. Oh, you're in the rabbit hole too? When did you get in? You know, what brought you into the rabbit hole? What made you take a peek into the rabbit hole and then get stuck inside of it and go deeper and deeper and deeper, as we all do when we go into VTubing? For me, it was Watame. It was Watame playing Goat Simulator. And it was one where there was bouncy sheep, because Watame is a sheep. She's hololive. Watame she's the best sheep. That's what they call her. She's a sheep. So there were these in the game of Goat Simulator. You have sheep police that go after you eventually. And she did the sheep bounce, like you know, the head bob and everything like that, going along with the sheep themselves, and that got me into it. The Clippers got me into it. Once I get into that, I have watched every single hololivers videos at least once. I mean, I watched their VODs, I watched the clips of them, all of them, from Hololive Gen 0 to newer. I've seen the backstories of Hololive Gen 0, how they started, how everything came up. Kazuna Ai, all these other big VTubers. I got into that rabbit hole. Niji Sanji a little bit too. But it as a community member, as a VTuber, as a fan, which is what made me start doing this, because I enjoyed the happiness that they brought, and I wanted to bring that to others. As that, it hurts me to hear what he's going to say next.
Rebuild bridges. In many months, maybe. Just maybe I'll even be redeemed if I play my cards right. But this whole thing affects how I feel about the VTuber community and how they feel about me. I've been blacklisted. I'm unwelcome. Whenever I watch a VTuber clip or some shenanigans on Twitter, I can't help but think that in the back of my mind, these people don't want me here. Whenever I want to comment under a tweet or a clip, whenever I appear on my Oshi's chat, I have this burning feeling that I'm not wanted. That even if people don't know I'm there, they still hate me personally. It affects how I enjoy making my content and how I can be active in the community. I love VTubers. I love this rabbit hole. I've been neck deep in a lot of cliques and communities for years. It means the world to me. So I can't just disassociate myself and my emotions from the community and continue making content as is. The collective opinions of all VTubers, clippers, artists, and every type of community member, they still matter to me. Their words still matter to me. And I can't just ignore what they're saying. That they don't want me around. Even if all of this blows over, the stigma will always be there. So please, don't frame this statement as if I'm playing the victim. I'm not. I don't mean to. In fact, most people, including myself, would probably say that I'm just rightfully facing the consequences. Again, please know my content, exclusive or not, was never made to harm anyone. I just wanted to tell stories and have fun doing it. That's all I ever wanted to do in this channel. It was never about the money or the clout.
Now, I can definitely understand what he's saying. As a fan, when you have Oshikis, when you have people, when you're in this rabbit hole, you can get too overzealous. You can get too excited. You can get too into it, where you want everyone to enjoy what you're enjoying, and not everyone will, but sometimes you go a little too far because you're like, I want this story to be told. I want that story to be told. I want people to understand how this now, for example, the things that he said with Gargura, I'm assuming, I didn't watch anything because I don't like watching those type of doxing things too much. She went from unknown. I mean, she wasn't that unknown. She had probably, like, in her old one, I think, before she became Gargura, she had something like 800,000 or something subscribers. So she was a meme queen before she was Gura. And she became Gura. Now, if she's your Oshi, and you're like, and people are, and then you hear people be like, oh, she just has this because of being a hololive member, being part of hololive EN, which is extremely successful overall, as in, like, every single hololive EN member of the first generation already has over 1 million members, a million subscribers. That was it. She just had the right marketing, she had the right right reach, etc. That has a big part to do with it, of course, because when she was an independent, she didn't reach anywhere near the heights that she is right now. So it has something to do with it. But, and here's the big but here, before she was Gargura that we knew, she did memes and she did all that kind of stuff. She did songs, meme songs, etc. as her other persona. When she got into hololive, she suddenly has millions of dollars in budget for marketing. She has brand deals. She has all this other stuff that is coming to her. She is not necessarily a genius in marketing, but she's a genius in making herself relevant. She's using memes, even though she's older from what I gather. She's probably like in her 30s from what I gather, just from hearing her say, I'm not a boomer, blah, 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 but she says boomer things. She still is in touch with memes. She still is in touch with a lot of those things. And knowing as a VTuber how hard it is to get your voice out there, even if you have the highest budget in the world. One big example, not to knock any of them, because this is not a knock on hololive JP at all. Because if it wasn't for the bridges built in hololive JP by people like, big people like Hachama or Akai Hato, as she's the two personalities she has in hololive, Kiryu Koko, bridging the gap between the Japanese side and the English-speaking side, which usually would go through clips. But then you had Kiryu Koko, who would do live translations. Basically, she speaks both languages. She would do that in her streams. She would, did meme reviews, which has now gotten very popular. But it wasn't popular in the VTubing space until she made it. Maybe there were some people who did it, but it wasn't outright like, holy shit, this is super popular, everyone should be doing it, until a big person like Kiryu Koko brought it out. she, when you're told as someone who enjoys them, oh, this only happens, they're only this popular, not because of their talent. It feels like they're saying not because of their talent. It feels like they're saying this person wouldn't be able to hack it in the real world if they weren't being supported by this big corporation. And the reason why I bring on hololive JP is because not until hololive EN popped up did a lot of members of hololive JP start cracking a million as well. Quickly, that is. Because they would have gotten there eventually. I know they would have. They're wonderful girls. Wonderful women. They're wonderful. They work hard. They put their effort into it. A lot of times working 7 days a week, doing several streams a day a lot of times, and at the very least being very consistent with their streams. I try to do that a bit. I have inconsistent streams like right now. An occasion when I feel like it, they'll do the same thing, scuff streams. That's a thing that happens in our VTuber space. But it hurts as someone who is in the community to be told that, and I think that's why he wanted to create this type of video out there for those who are also in the space and are maybe wanting to find out, or maybe just got into the rabbit hole wanting to find out a bit more about their favorite VTubers and don't want, like, or don't know how to find that information themselves. Now, like he says, should it have been done? Probably not. Is it something that he regrets? Absolutely, he regrets it now. And it makes sense for him to actually be regretting it because, it's not something that you're going to get like cheers and applause for. You're going to get people that are going to be like, "Oh, thank you for doing this," who are just moving into the VTuber space, etc. But you're not going to have people just like shaking your hand and being like, "Oh my god, you're so amazing. Thank you for doing this." Like everybody saying stuff like that. No, that's not going to happen. And unfortunately, he got stung. He got stung hard by the community. And I'll show you what I mean in just a little bit, because I'm going to go into Twitter, which is a very, very, very toxic place. I'll mention that. It is very toxic. And it is not some place that I recommend you go to if you want to feel positivity, unless you're like in smaller VTuber space like I am. It can get bad there too, but the positivity isn't as strong in the large. Like people get jealous, people get envious, other things that other people have done, and it can get pretty bad. And in his case, it is pretty bad in the sense that, like, what he has done has basically, as he mentioned, it has hurt his ability to do this in the future. It has made it so that he is persona non grata, which is basically a person that's not welcome here anymore. And it's a lesson for anybody who wants to be in this space and possibly do things, like that, or possibly bring about that information and share it with the world, so to speak. That is something that it probably is not a good idea to ever do again. I know that I'm not going to be doing that. I mean, even if I had thought about doing that before, I kind of knew it was a faux pas in the community, and I probably wasn't going to actually do it because of the fact that it is, seen negatively by the community itself. So I don't like pissing people off. I don't like doing that kind of stuff. So I would not do that. I just would not do that. I would not go through the trouble and the problems that would bring. So let me go into now this. When you look up Depressed Nosagi, you see these things. You see people who are very pissed off at what he's done. And rightfully so, because, like I said, it's a faux pas, and it's a faux pas for a reason. It is something you just don't do. But yeah, here we go. Salome debuts massive boom, obscure video. So the intent for the paywall docs was to tell VTubers past stories without rats. Our rats, which is basically like people saying shit just to like fully doxing people, as in like fully fucking doxing people, which is what you don't want. Which is actually even worse since he unclarifies since the unclarities of our rats stop people from believing it 100%. The press Nosagi wanted to shape it into a single truth, shows how arrogant he had become. And it might be arrogance, like they say Icarus flying too close to the sun because he had wings, and the wings were burned off or melted or whatever. Horrible things happen even with the best intentions. Even the worst things can be built on the greatest of intentions. He had great intentions for what he did, as I mentioned. Again, repeating myself again and again. I'm harping back and back again. But it goes back to the thing. Like this person's saying, it didn't have malicious intentions, but it did cause harm and damage, which is what you are actually judged on in the end. You're not judged on your intent, you're judged on what the end product, what the conclusion, what happened after you did what you did. If it scares people now, like if it makes them all nervous about like Gura or Kiara or Amelia Watson, if it makes them now nervous about their docs and they have to take a break, then you just gave someone stress because of what you did. Even if it isn't publicly out there, like it's in the Patreon, which now I believe he took down his Patreon because of all the shit what's going on. Of course, I mean that's what everyone does. They take down stuff. I'm not saying he was trying to hide anything, but he was probably like, shit, I'm already fucked. I don't want this to affect me more than it already has. I just want to disappear. That's one thing is. And here's more stuff. Sea Monkey Mindset, he's only sorry he got caught, but not sorry that he collected Chuba's personally identifiable information for profit and sold it to an audience that's schizo enough to act on that info. Oh, this was another thing that happened, I think. Had a Patreon. Okay, let's just read based on the information we have. Let's just go on information that's shown here. Which, of course, is what you have to have. You have to have information. If this thing was not doctored, if this thing was not faked, and this is actual stuff of people that have been in the Patreon and stuff like that, and not just people trying to be evil because the Patreon doesn't exist anymore, then let's just take it with a grain of salt and let's just see what goes on. The Press Nosaki had a Patreon where you had past life videos, documentaries, and all Hollow EN girls. Paywalled, of course. Oh, this is on like 4chan or something. And on leaks it to certain number fag. I don't know what the heck that means, honestly. I'm out of the 4chan stuff. I don't look. I guess that's a numbers place, a place that looks for like actual address information, I guess. It spreads that specific, I guess the hashtag or the pound sign is, I guess, a sub thing on 4chan, sub area of 4chan. Spreads it to the corners of the VTubing world systematically to 2 views and 3 views looking for clout. Oh, so it was spread to a lot of people. That's what ended up happening. And he can't control what happens after it's been viewed. And he can't control what happens, who gets into the Patreon. Like, he doesn't know that he has detractors there. He doesn't know that he has people looking specifically for doxing information to make these people's lives miserable. For example, Mano Alo, the reason why she decided to retire, because actually she wasn't necessarily retired by hololive, from what I understand. She was given a 2-week suspension because of what happened, and basically they did that to calm things down. That was their way of calming things down back in the day. But what happened? They found out who her past relationships were. They bugged those people and their families. They threw death threats her way. They called her incessantly, making it so that she felt she had to move, making it so that she felt she was no longer safe. Now, it could have very easily been something simple like people like this that are like, oh, this is the person's former persona, etc. And since people, once they get into this, if they are sweet summer children, as they're called, which is very naive to the way the world works, they won't safeguard their publicly identifiable information. They won't safeguard the things that they do, and they won't safeguard the information that's around there. They won't do that. So that is something that you have to be very careful of. Now, me, I try to safeguard the best I can. If people find out who I am, well, then whatever, they found out who I am. As long as they don't bug me, I don't really care. I don't put it out there. So if they find out who I am, they're digging through some really personal information that they shouldn't be digging through. And that is illegal. Okay, let's continue. 2 views and 3 views jump on the chance to condemn him. It's over.jpg. To press Nosagi to post an apology video. Yeah, I was wrong, but money though. That's not what he said. But whatever. Okay, let's continue. Unironically cries at the end. Swears to never return to the VTuber world. Fuck with people. Get fucked with. Cry like a bitch. Ha ha ha. Of course 4chan's gonna do this. Make shit documentaries. Goes on Patreon and starts doxing VTubers. And I know some people say it was still wrong to make these videos, blah blah blah. I don't have a satisfying answer to give. Cries, C moment. See, these people are assholes. 4chan is just one of the most toxic places I know of. And it's known that way. It's known, you don't go into 4chan. You don't mess with these people. You don't piss these people off because they'll fucking find one way or another who you are. Even if you private your Twitter, even if you private your Facebook, even if you private everything, they'll go into the Wayback Machine to figure stuff out. They will hunt you down. They will do that. And that's unfortunately what happened here, is my guess as well. Tyler Not Taylor is another person that I like. He's a clipper, but Tyler Not Taylor does it differently. Tyler Not Taylor is a clipper who does content where he does mashups of hololive singing a song. Basically, he takes like 10 different hololive talents that have sung a song, like, you know, whether it be the Demon Slayer song or whatever, and the Home With Us song from Lisa, and he'll patch them all together. He'll sync the singing of it, which is kind of crazy. I like that he puts that effort out. I love his stuff, and then he makes videos out of that, and I've loved his stuff ever since. Okay. Now, let's see what he has to say. It's a shame since I really did enjoy Depressed Nosagi's content and appreciated him talking about difficult issues within the community. But then he put paywalling docs info behind a Patreon with personally identified information. I don't know. Yeah, it depends. It's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't in this situation of what I'm going to say. If he would have been publicly gone out and been like, I'm going to make it all public. This is what I said. This is what was said. This is what was done. As you can see, all information here is information you can find if you just do a YouTube search. It's on YouTube. It's there. It's available. No addresses. Kiara, the issue with the Kiara showing the Kiara part is Kiara in her other personality, she has face cam. She shows her actual face. So her face is public information out there, but it's on another personality. So there's a lot of, like I said, it's a big faux pas. But she, when she moved to hololive, as I mentioned when I first started, just as a recap, the way hololive does things, and Niji-Sanji, I'm pretty sure, and other agencies do, is some agencies, the smaller ones, say you can no longer use your old VTuber persona when you are under contract by us. they take it as a non-compete clause. Like you will not compete with yourself here. You will not do that. Hololive did that in the beginning when they were small, but when they got larger, what they did, for example, because Mio still has her old persona, um, Matsuri still has her old persona. Gura stopped using her old persona, but like I mentioned, Kiara has an old persona, so does Ame, so does other people. If they didn't delete it, then it's still on YouTube, it's still there. Kiryu Koko, when she existed on Hololive and she didn't graduate, she had her own persona that she was still using. Anyone who recognized her, anyone who knew her voice, because she used her actual voice, Kiryu Koko's voice was an actual voice. The people who use their actual voice are at risk. They're at an even bigger risk than the people who do voice acting for their roles. Like, I do know, if I'm not mistaken, Bekora does some voice acting for her roles. Ayande Risu from Hololive Indonesia does voice acting for her roles. Muna, I think, does some voice acting for her roles. A lot of the Ali, I think, does voice acting for her roles. A lot of the Indonesian ones do. Some of the new EN girls do, I think. Some of them don't. But when you don't, you're at higher risk of having your old persona being found out, unless your old persona was tiny. But a lot of these people, their old personas weren't tiny. And they're people who have them as their Oshis and VTubers find their old persona, like I did. And they follow them. But I don't go and be like, hey, Kiara, how you doing? On her IRL one. And I don't go do that, because that just makes them uncomfortable, of course. But it is a faux pas. It's a big faux pas. But let's go back into reading what this says. Additional context for anyone who was confused as I was, and if their post gets deleted. OP posted a link to a Twitter post with a pic from 4chan accusing Depressed Nosagi, DN hereinafter, of having videos to dox holomems on Patreon. 4chan pic had a URL, not listed as it breaks number 2, to a service that somehow can save Patreon paywalled posts. The user ID matches Depressed Nosagi's Patreon ID, so unless the server archive page is completely fabricated, this looks as legit as I can tell without paying for a Patreon sub to him. This was before things went bad. The link goes to post with a description of a video within his normal historical style, only it is covering this holomem from her start as real life idol name to her current state as holomem name. The video link does not work, it's just a thumbnail archived. The post does include a link to Real Idol Name's Facebook page and a possible Kiwi Farms link chan board. So from what I'm getting here, 4chan, as they always like doing, Kiwi Farms, 4chan, any of those dudes, they like digging. And they will dig and dig and dig until they find something. They don't have a life, and they're happy to not have a life. They will spend way too long figuring this shit out. And they'll figure it out. There's people who were his detractors. Like I'm saying, a lot of the people who found this out were probably detractors that wanted him gone. But he made it easy for them. If it wasn't for him making it easy for them, they would have had nothing on him. This guy already says, he's tired of seeing him profiting off VTubers. So this guy has been hating him for a long time. Just that this was a nail in the coffin that he needed. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. He'd been flying too close to the sun, and he got singed. He got his wings singed. He got burned, and then he fell back. And that's where he made his mistake. As I'll say again and again, that was the mistake. You went into the taboo territory. If you're going to do that and paywall it, understand that at some point, someone that doesn't like you, or someone that eventually stops liking you, or likes their Oshis more than they like you, is going to go in there and make your life a living hell. And that's exactly what these people did. They made his life a living hell. They made it so that he is in no way, shape, or form a victim, which he's not. He did this knowingly. But they make him into a bigger threat than he is. Now, this other person saying, I just want to tell his taboo stories while having fun. What he found fun for himself might not be fun for the talent. Might be something they want to bury 6 feet under, never to see the light again. He shouldn't be the judge of what's okay and what's not, and that's the thing. That is the thing. There's a reason why hololive tells their members when they join, when they get a contract, keep your life separate. Keep your former persona separate. If you want to continue using it, you can, and they do. Like I said, Kiara still uses hers, and Kiryu Coco used hers while she was still Coco. The whole time she used it. But they were two separate things. In Kiryu Coco's other persona, you were able to see her face. You were able to see, she did IRL streams sometimes. She had a VTuber persona sometimes. And it was nice, it was fun seeing both personalities, seeing, the Loving Dragon and the other personality, which I'm not going to mention for the same reason that it's a taboo to mention it ever, at that point. They don't mention it, number one, because of course they're not allowed to in contract, but they're working as this personality now. It gets confusing, it gets annoying, it is not good for your current personality to be thinking about something else. You're technically competing with yourself at that point, but you may be bringing bad blood towards your new persona. And like I said, you can find all of their personas online in YouTube if they still exist. If they still have them, use them, even if they're on hiatus, like Gura's persona is on hiatus. If you do that, then fine, do that. Find them. Don't publicly post it. That's a taboo in the VTuber space. Do not publicly post it. There's a reason they don't go around flouting that they're part of hololive and then that there's persona as well. Not only because of the contract thing, but because it's just, you're moving on. That is what got you here, of course. That persona is what got you here. And in the case of Kiryu Coco, she used the persona after she became Kiryu Coco because, and like after she stopped being Kiryu Coco, because she had a fan base who actively loved her, who actively followed her knowing that this was the persona of Kiryu Coco, but they separated it because they wanted to still be able to be with their Oshi, but they understood you don't mention it's a taboo. You don't mention the other side. Like, for example, the example I gave earlier, if I were to, let's say, it's not going to happen because I've already tried. It's not going to happen, believe me. I've tried and it hasn't worked. Me being a part of another VTuber agency, if that happened, if for whatever reason that happened and I had to take a break from here or use this less often, maybe once a week, and use the other one every single day, yes, there are probably going to be people who find me, who are like, holy crap, this is how he was before he was a part of this agency. But I wouldn't want them to be like, hey, now I know who you are. Hey, this is you, blah, blah, blah. Damn, I didn't know you were doing it here too. I didn't know you were a squirrel as well. Oh, you're a fox here. You're a dragon here. You're just a human here, but you're, I don't want that to happen. If you also enjoy the content that is being provided by this channel when I have another channel that is way more popular or another channel that's part of another agency, fine, come here, enjoy it. Just don't break that taboo. And that's what he did. He broke it. And that's the issue. Not malicious, but I don't think it's going to be very hard for him to recover from this because he has detractors already. He has people who hate him. And what I know about from people who hate me is that every second that they have, every chance that they get, they're going to remind you of the things that they hate you for, and they're going to make sure it's publicly known that they hate you for this. They will make your lives miserable. And if you block them, doesn't matter because they're going to still be spreading your bad information about you. They can still at you. They can still do all that kind of stuff. You're just not going to see them. Same like Discord, Twitter, Facebook, any of that stuff. If you have, Instagram, TikTok, if you have any of those things and you have haters there, they will make sure that you will not rest, that you will be found and you will be made to suffer as much as possible. They say don't feed the trolls, but some trolls are so persistent that it doesn't matter if you feed them or not by, making videos about them and telling them to shut the F up and all that kind of stuff. It feeds them. It feeds their narcissism, their desire to be recognized. even if you don't feed that section of their narcissism, they will keep going because they're narcissists. They want that attention one way or another, whether it's other people giving it to them or you. They prefer it from you, but they'll get it from whatever side they can. Some people don't even know, and this is the issue that happens in here. Yes, there is parasocialism. Parasocialism may not be, it's not necessarily horrible. I'll say one thing. Yes, I have some parasocialism with some of my Oshis. It's not crazy. Like, I don't send gifts. Heck, I don't even pay subscriptions to them. I don't give them super chats. The only time I've ever given a super chat really was to to Kiryu Koko when she was graduating, just to let her know what what kind of impact she had, so she can understand she had impact on people. Uh, yes, I've laughed with them. Yes, I've felt sad when they've had sad moments. But it's not, for me at the very least, it's not that, oh my god, like some people take it like my girlfriend, like my my future wife, my fiance, my whatever, they go that far. Some people go that far. But for me it's like this other human being who is struggling, who is working hard, who's working hard like I am, doing the exact same field that I'm doing the exact same things that I'm doing, is suffering. I don't take it like, for example, when Toa had her situation, or when Toa cries, or Watame cries. I don't take it as Watame crying. I don't take it as Toa crying. I take it as the person behind the mask suffering because something is going on. Suffering because something happens with their family or story that they tell, and then I empathize with it. I sympathize with it because there's some situations I pass through that I pass through as well. And I I get emotional because the impact that they have, and because it's another human being feeling bad. It's not because I love them or whatever it is. It's because these people, for example, when you get into the rabbit hole like I have, I got into the rabbit hole during a dark time in history in general with the pandemic, but it was a dark time for myself. A little bit of insight on me I'm going to give you right now. I got into this rabbit hole during a very dark time for myself. And I saw these people, these YouTubers, who were using animated personas, VTubers. And because they were animated, a lot of times people can be behind a mask, they can be behind a person like a persona like I have now, they can let loose. Like, for example, one person that's kind of like, that is, I relate to a lot because I'm kind of the same way, is very timid in real life. Very timid, introverted, etc. is Minato Aqua of hololive as well. A lot of times you can't do IRL streams. Like, I can't do the face cam because I get too nervous. I wouldn't be able to speak in many cases. I wouldn't know what to do, know what to say. I wouldn't be as loudmouthed and as annoying and as word vomit that I have when I do this. I wouldn't be able to do that. It helps me relate to other people, even though it's technically me having a persona that covers me up. But with that, it was, I'm a lover of anime already. It was not a far stretch to like this type of stuff. But it brought happiness. It brought laughs. It helped me realize that I'm not the only one going through these types of troubles. And I mean, I knew that from an intellectual standpoint before, but seeing other people that have had the exact same experiences I have had, who are actually there, not like an anime where it's, it's scripted and all that kind of stuff, who are unscripted a lot of times, who are just being themselves and just trying to bring happiness to others, brought happiness to me that they were there. Brought happiness to me that there were people like that. And I think that's why I was able to empathize more with them, because it wasn't that they were doing it specifically for me. By the time I was in the VTuber rabbit hole, hololive was a large corporation. Nijisanji was a large corporation. Many of these VTubers already had hundreds of thousands of followers, had thousands of viewers at one time. They wouldn't know me from a freaking hole in the wall for some dude in the market. They wouldn't know me from anybody. I'm not under any kind of weird illusions about that. I know that 100%. I have a small community. I try to know everybody. I try to, be someone that is positive in this community. And they do the same. They read super chats. They get sad when people mention, things that are going on. Them being empathetic made me empathize more with them. Uh, for better or for worse. Now that's why I started doing this, like I mentioned. That little background is why I started doing this. I was like, if I can get my voice out there, if I can talk to people, if I can do crazy, wacky things, let people know the kind of things I like, the kinds of things I'm interested in, even though I'm horrible at it. Like I just did a singing video earlier today. Sorry to plug my video, but I did a singing video earlier today. I sang horribly, but I enjoyed it because that was a song that also hit me when I was at a dark time that one of the Oshis sang and cheered me up, even though I didn't understand the lyrics. It cheered me up because it was just like hearing their voice, hearing them sing, the passion that they sang it with. It was like, it was a song that I could have during that time that was just like either helped me let me out my emotion or something of that sort. Um, I'm not a generally artistic dude. I really am not. I try to be. I try to be creative. I'm not generally creative. I like video games. I like now, not, I mean, before I didn't, but now I like chatting with people. I like knowing that there's people here who might be interested in my take on something, who might be interested in the things that I'm doing, which I should probably use Twitter a lot more often. I don't use it as much because I'm like, I don't want to flood people's feeds. I don't want to, they probably have a life. I mean, they definitely have a life, but they probably have a life where they're busy worrying about feeding their family. They're worrying about all this stuff. And I mean, probably wouldn't want some dude on the internet bugging their feed every fucking 5 minutes. So that's why I don't do. I mean, I try to do things like Twitter as much as I can. I try to um, be as active in my social media. I'm doing a lot better now because it was pointed out by a fan that I'm not doing as much as I could. So I do more, and I try to be more personable and be a little bit more approachable, a little bit more out there, a little bit more public. Uh, whether I'm small, whether it's to two people, whether it's to 200 people or 2,000 people, which I'll probably never get to 2,000 people watching me, but I've gotten to like 100 before and stuff like that. I still try to um, hear them out, hear what they're saying, watch, engage. Even though I'm in the middle of a game, I'll engage. Even if it means I die, I don't care. It's a game. I'll engage because they're taking time out of their day to come and watch me. And this is what he's no longer going to feel because he made that mistake. Here's another person. I hope we can all learn from Japan's Nosage situation. Just another misunderstanding that became worse due to a hate mob. People are sensitive about their Oshi's past. I get it. But is the illusion of your Oshi worth kicking someone out of the community? For some, yes. Some will be militant about their Oshi, and I'm pretty sure they get people. Okay, it's not worth it, but welcome to Twitter. People don't fact check anything on here and listen to others thinking the info is valid, but it's not. And some people not knowing what's going on. I'm gonna do my own Twitter thread and stuff like that. My Twitter is at mad_salvi_game. I believe it is, yeah. Mad_salvi_game. That's my thing. On Twitter, that's my @. That's where I, usually put small little info here and there, things like that. So if you want to follow me, follow that, and I'll probably post on this whole thing and put this video on there. And the advantage of having this video and then, making it into another video is people can skip through, listen to what they want, and then leave, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. I appreciate anyone who watches any video that I do. Anyone who knows me and anyone who's watched me in the past knows that I tend to not like doing drama in general because it usually ends up biting you in the butt. Because new information comes out, new data comes out, and then you're left looking like an asshole because you just decided to skewer this guy when all the new information came out, and you're like, oh shit, this wasn't as much as bad as I thought it was, like the Manuelo situation, like the Rusia situation in Hololive, like the situation that ended up bringing Kiryu Koko to a situation where she decided it is not in her best interest to remain in Hololive, and she graduated. She was better off being independent and being herself. Things like that. To get to that point, it takes a lot. But there were a lot of people who became antis immediately, who didn't look at all the information, they didn't look at the context, and decided to skewer them alive. And I try not to do that. That's why this came out strong yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before. It came out strong, and it was like a bombshell that hit. It was on I think 4chan, I think 2 days ago. But yesterday the bombshell hit. And I was like, okay, I want to hear his side as well. And then I want to see what new information I can find. Like now I found that 4chan was the one that leaked all the information. They put it on a server that somehow was able to save Patreon thumbnails and Patreon videos, and that's how people know what happened in the Patreon video. I didn't know things like that. People go sleuthing, and then I go. I mean, you could be like, "Damn, you know, using other people's information," but I'm living them personally available here. I mean, they're available. This is the information we have. And I give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to. For me, you're innocent until proven guilty, and what you've done is not malicious until it is proven that there was malicious intent, which is how I'm seeing Depressed Nosagi. I don't see that there was malicious intent. There was no desire for him to, like, he wasn't like desiring to deplatform the EN girls. He wasn't desiring, it's like, oh, I'm gonna make their lives a living hell now. He wasn't an anti. He wasn't one of these Chinese dudes, because unfortunately China has a lot of antis against Hololive EN and things like that. And Hololive in general. You'll have a lot of those antis pop up when you're very popular. I don't have antis. I've had some in the past, but I don't have any now because I'm not popular. So that's one of the advantages of being as small as I am. But they can destroy all the fun of everything. They will dox you. They will go into your chat and just bomb you with bad stuff or random information, like they were doing that to Hololive for a bit. Hololive had to put it on members only mode in some cases, like members only specifically. Others were subscribers only, but subscribers only is, like they say 1 day or 24 hours or whatever it is. After that, the antis can start doing their stuff. So members only would mean that the antis would have to pay YouTube, which I think in China you can't, because the pay services don't work in China. Like you can't, like a lot of times you can't see YouTube unless you're using a firewall. I mean the VPN, and like even then the payment services won't work and all that kind of stuff. You have to like go through like Taiwan or something. But they were just writing random shit. They were making their lives miserable until they decided to just take a break, and then eventually Kiryu Koko was like, I can't take this anymore. I can't do this. Thank you, Scarlet Feathers, for lurking. It's perfectly fine. I'm probably going to be done with this soon, because I realized it's late for me. Late as in later than usual. I need to go take a shower. This squirrel needs to wash off all the nut eating he's been doing recently. Non-stop Nut November. I have videos on that on my channel as well. On my YouTube side. The YouTube side of that. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to do this, but I'll, you can look for what? It's the Mad Salvia. You can just look for the Mad Salvia on YouTube and freaking find me. You can find me on YouTube if you want. The Mad Salvi. I have my non-stop Nut November stuff there. I have my singing things there. Like I say, I sing horribly. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I don't sing very well, but I sing I enjoy it. I enjoy the song, and there are people who make fun of me, but luckily they're not making fun of me in public. But I've been made fun of before, so it's fine. I don't mind. That's one of those things that happens. But I hope that if he comes back, there is a redemption arc for him. Everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody deserves redemption. He's going to have to reinvent himself. That is one thing. He's going to have to reinvent himself. After this, he cannot do the same thing he did before, because what's going to happen is that anyone who gave you a chance to be like, you didn't listen, you didn't learn, you didn't learn anything. You're just going back to exactly what you did because it makes you money. You know, that's what they're going to think. Even though what he did, I don't think was wrong necessarily. It skirted the line a lot of times, yes. But I liked his videos. I liked how he specifically called out parasocialism. He called out a lot of different things that went wrong in the community. The antis, the way that they do their stuff. All of that, he called it out. And he made sure that in on no uncertain terms, it was found, his side of the story was he hated that stuff. But you live long enough, and sometimes you can morph into the person that you hate. You sometimes can morph into the person that you hate the most. You live long enough, and sometimes you can be seen as the enemy. You're in a community long enough, and you'll make a faux pas, and then you'll be seen as the enemy. And I don't ever want to be at that point. And I do want you guys to hold me accountable. If I do something wrong here, if I do something that's like not right, if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not reading chats correctly, if I'm not doing things like that, call me out on it. I've been called out on it before. I'm working on it. I'm working on improving, as can be seen today, because whether it was Scotty, No, and Diamond on the YouTube side, or it's the people on the Twitch side, I try to make sure that their voices are heard. And I try to make sure that they at least recognize that I'm talking to them. Unfortunately, there are delays because of the service I'm using. There are delays in between. Like YouTube has like a 20 to 30 second delay. On Twitch, there's like a 5 to 10 second delay. So there's going to be a delay in when I'm talking and when I'm able to respond to the things you say. That's why there even sometimes that on YouTube I will respond through text, because I don't want them to think I'm not talking to them. And 20 seconds is a long ass time. When there's like 2 people in there and 2 people chatting, 20 seconds is a long ass time to not be responding to. That's why sometimes I just stop and I chat with them through there and be like, sorry for the delay. Or I'll pin a message and be like, YouTube has a 20-second delay. I will answer you as soon as I see your message. Things like that. And I try my best. And he tried his best, but he flew way too close to the sun. I'm way more conservative than he is. And I do not like flying that close to the sun. And he's getting grilled, like a lot of these things. It's like, this person says he doesn't think it's inherently wrong to want to know the personal life of a VTuber. I've gone searching out of curiosity before, but going digging and then trying to turn a profit, that became the issue. Like I said earlier on, an hour before, if you just got here, I'll let you know. Like I said before, if he had put it out there, like, this is, public information. If you're on YouTube, you'll probably find them. This is the hololive girls that are still active on their other personas. Or, like I said before, like a behind the music or behind the artist type of thing with a VTuber. You can be like behind the VTuber and make a documentary on it. Be like, for Gura, be like, this was Gura's previous persona. Which I'm a subscriber of her previous persona. I know who Gura was in the past. I'm not saying like, oh my god, I'm this big guy that knows everything about everybody. No, it just happens sometimes that you go searching and you find things. Google search will help you find it if you want to look for it. That's all you have to do, a Google search. And you'll find it on YouTube. It's out there. It doesn't mean that I'm going to make it public to other people. Because that's just, like I said, it's a faux pas in VTuber space. I know Kiara's current IRL streamer persona on YouTube. I know Kiryu Coco, the one that she was using and is still using now while she was Kiryu Coco. I know her VTuber persona that she's using for that. And hers is VTuber / IRL. I know Matsuri's, and she is an IRL streamer. So I know Matsuri's face. Mio, who is part of hololive, I know and I'm a subscriber to her streams, and she sometimes has shown her face on her streams as well. Same thing with some Niji Sanji people, same thing with other people. But that doesn't mean that it's right to go and do it per se. but it can be found. That's why I understand where he's like, I don't get how it's so wrong. I can understand his perspective because all this stuff can be found as long as it's not addresses, it's not their home, it's like you blur out places they visited. That's what they do. Like you can show their face if they've shown it. If it's publicly available face, they're a public figure, you're gonna be found out. You're a public figure now. You have a YouTube, you have a Twitter, you're on social media. Sorry, but after a certain time, you are considered a public figure. That's why people are allowed to talk about you because you're a public figure at that point. You're gonna be found out. Now there's a difference between that and like if you have a family vlog. That's a little bit different. Yeah, you could blur out stuff and show the face. Maybe be like this is her. But don't show like if they're doing something with their home, don't show that. Don't show things in their personal life. Like Kiara in her IRL streamer one, she doesn't have a lot of personal life. Sometimes she does vlogs on places she visits, vlogs on trips she does, talk about trips she does, take pictures on trips she does, and she has her own little studio where she streams with both of her personas, and she uses the same equipment for both, which I mean perfectly fine. She games on both. Reuse it. Of course, I'm not going to spend an extra $2,000 or whatever to get a new system just because I'm a VTuber. But there's a line you don't cross, which for him, the issue that a lot of people had, I think, is that he put it behind a paywall, which changed it from a simple and innocent, oh, I want my Oshi to be known better and their struggles and their hardships and how hard they worked and how much they toiled and all the successes that they had. I want that to be seen by other people. It changed from that to I want that to be seen by other people, but you have to pay me first. That's how it looks to others. It's no longer innocuous. It's no longer innocent. It's now a business. And technically, as a VTuber, technically, when you start taking memberships, it's a business at that point. It's no longer, it's a hobby that makes you money, but technically, it's a hobby that's a business. I mean, that's how the federal government sees you. Whether it be Japan, the US, whatever government that you're a part of, Indonesia, it's technically your business, so you have to pay business taxes. That's what you have to do. That they make you do that. YouTube, when they send you your paycheck, or Twitch, when they send you a paycheck, they send it to it like an independent contractor. They send it to the business name that you put on there. And you have to put a business name at that point because you are an independent contractor. You either use your full name or you use a business name. On me, whenever I've gotten paid by Twitch, which was only like once for like $20, which is like in the beginning, I put a business name because I don't want my personally identifiable information to come out. Because if Twitch was given a freedom of information request and they were requested by like the court, then all people will figure out was my business name, not my actual name. Same thing. Well, I've never been large enough for YouTube to do that for me, but if YouTube ever did that for me, I would do the same thing. Create a buffer is what you're supposed to do, which I'm pretty sure Gura and them do. Because, hololive is a corporation that is very protective of their idols' intellectual property, the property rights, which makes me think that hololive might strike down some of the videos, but the fact is, because he made money, it just makes it that much worse. If he had put it on his regular channel, it wouldn't have been so bad. If he had made it a members only stream, he would have still had the same issue, because that's when you're making money. That's when people pay you to be a member. However big your membership is, however much it costs, they're paying you to be a member. So they're going to pay you money, so technically you're profiting off of that. hololive is very strict on that, on profiting. They say clips is fine. One big rule that they even have a whole set of rules that you can look up for clipping on what you can do. They allow you to clip, but they have certain regulations and restrictions. Don't clip as they are streaming. That's one of the big ones. Do not clip out as they are streaming. You can make your clips and let's say you have a Gura moment, a really big Goomba moment, I think she calls herself. They calls the chum buddies and everything a Goomba moment. You can clip that and be editing it while she's doing her stuff, and then usually what ends up happening is right when Gura stops streaming, they'll put it out, and that's fine. They don't want you to put it out during because it interrupts. They don't want you. Um, you can make cuts, but nothing that would seem disingenuous and seem like you're trying to hurt their talent, because they understand social media virality. You can become viral off of someone's clip. That's how, like, for example, Pikame from Vom's Monster Project. She became, she was a meme for a bit. Her tea kettle laugh, they call it. She was a meme because someone took a clip of her um, in, I think she was doing a collaboration stream with another streamer that is part of Vom's Monster Project, who's more just Japanese based. Pikame is kind of like Kiryu Koko that did English and Japanese. She became a meme because there was a moment. You just look for Pikame killed a hoe. You look for that in freaking YouTube. You look that up, and you find Pikame explaining to someone that they're gonna, basically they were gonna go kill creepers or they were gonna go kill zombies or something, and the person she was collaborating with said, let's kill the hoe," and that is like something that was done, I think, in an anime. That was done in JoJo, I believe, or something of that sort. And she didn't understand what it was, and Pikame laughed, and that tea kettle laughed. That moment, that one little clip, was enough for Pikame to gain notoriety, good notoriety, like popularity. She ballooned. I think before that she had like less than 100,000 subscribers. After that, and now she has like 500,000, I think, now or more. Before that happened, because I was a subscriber before that happened. Before that happened, she maybe would get 200 people on a stream, maybe 250. Now, because she learned how to market herself, and Voms decided, oh crap, we need to go on this virality. We need to make sure that they, not that they hear, that they enjoy. She gets 3,000 sometimes, 4,000, 2,000, over 1,000 on. I've never seen her below 1,000 unless it's like just started. Her streams get thousands of viewers because a clip will be enough a lot of times. If enough people, enough eyes get on that clip, and you take correct action on it, you get popularity. And clips are the way that the English community is able to see people like Korone that don't know how to speak English very well. Because, I mean, they're in Japan. They don't need to speak English very well. But they've started to learn. A lot of JP starting to learn thanks to Kiryu Koko. Because Kiryu Koko showed there's an untapped market here in the West. And hololive was like, untapped market? We can make money? We're gonna make money. And then hololive EN was born. If it wasn't for Kiryu Koko and the bridge she built to the Kusugakis over here, the people who, the overseas brethren, as they're called in some cases. Hey, 5 minutes, how you doing? Doing well. Just here, chatting and almost leaving, actually, at this point. Thank you for being here. I did miss your thing, didn't I? But those things are fine. Clipping. If he had clipped somebody and been like, for example, Kiara's IRL persona, the persona that she does for IRL streaming, once flubbed. She made a mistake. She uttered something that she shouldn't have. She used Kiara, the hololive name. She said Kiara, and she accidentally called herself Kiara. And that was her own flub. She fixed it. People just were like, blah, whatever. But she did that. And you could say, oh, after that, then it's fair game. Maybe, maybe not. But people could just look that one up. You could look it up any way that you want. You could find it. And then you could find who she was. That's actually how I found out who her IRL persona was. Because of that mistake. That's why you have to be really careful what you do as a VTuber. As any kind of persona in this sphere, there are people who will take that one little chance and it will hurt you. Like what's happening to Depressed Nosagi and other people out there. They will do what they can to get you and to hurt you bad as much as they can. And that is a cautionary tale. This is this cautionary tale that this little squirrel wants to mention to you. And holy crap, I went a lot longer than I expected. But I got to talking, and I got to talking to you guys, and I got to mentioning that. But that is this whole thing on the Depressed Nosagi saga. You can look him up on YouTube. You can see what he's done before. And you can come to your own conclusions, of course. This is just my take. This is just this little squirrel's take as being a VTuber and as being someone who likes to remain impartial with the just as long as the information's out there. I'll let it be known and all that kind of stuff. And I remain transparent once again. I'll repeat it once again because I'm not ashamed of it. I am and was before this happened a Depressed Nosagi subscriber. I like his content. I like the general content that he has publicly out there. Now, I may not agree with what he did here, but that's one mistake in the rest of his content for me speaks for itself. I can't easily say, "Oh, forgive and forget." For some people, getting this type of information known by others is scary. It can absolutely frighten them, and sometimes frighten them away from VTubing overall, like where they'll just be like, I'm just going to graduate because this is too much stress. That can happen. And that's the fear that people have. And that's the fear that they have with their Oshis. They have the fear that their Oshis are not going to be able to... I'm not saying they're weak if they aren't able to, but sometimes you just can't take it anymore. You're just like, I'm just done. I don't want to do this. This is going into my personal life. This was supposed to be kind of an escape, a different personality I can create for people who don't know me, who don't know the personal me, the me who's at home, the me who's sitting in here in front of this camera, and they just know the personality that I've created. And all that has come tumbling down because someone decided to dox me or someone decided to do this, even if it was publicly identifiable information. I can see that side, where they may not want to do this anymore. It happened to Kiryu Koko, but the difference is with her actual docs were doxed. She was actually doxed. People knew her address. They knew her phone number. They sent her mail. They sent her bad mail. They called her threatening stuff. I don't know if she changed her number or not, but she had to do something. She moved, luckily, she had before that moved to an apartment that had strict security. Apartment complex that had strict security. So no one was able to get in, luckily. But that's a fear you have. Now you can't. Now that people know your old personality, they know because in her regular personality she's streaming with right now, she shows her face. People know your face. Now when you're out in public, you fear that someone who has bad thoughts might do something to you. That's scary. And it could be something from someone innocuous and being like, "This is my Oshi. Isn't she beautiful in real life too?" Someone could be like that. Which is kind of creepy when you think about it. But let's just say something semi-innocuous like that. Like, "Oh, this is my Oshi. She's awesome." That type of thing. And did you know that she's a part of hololive as well? That type of thing. And something like that can lead someone to no longer want to be in that career. Something that they really enjoyed. And I enjoy what I do. I enjoy this. I enjoy being here, chatting with you guys, doing this news stuff. If it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. If it hits, it hits. You guys let me know in the comments. You guys let me know with the likes and all that kind of stuff. You'll let me know. We will see what happens at that point. But I do thank you for being here, for listening to this rambling of this weird squirrel here, of this weird character that doesn't show his face, that doesn't show anything other than my raccoon booty sometimes. Other than that, I don't have much else to say on here. What I do have to say is that I do want you all to take care of yourselves. Be healthy. Stay healthy. Let this little squirrel know if there's something that's bugging you. Like when I'm streaming, I will stop the stream and I'll chat with you. If you need me to stop the stream and chat with you, I will. I care about this community. I care about the VTubing community. I care about the people who watch me, the people who just pop in and they're like, "Hey, there's drama going about. Let me stay in here for a bit, see what kind of bullshit this guy says." That type of stuff. And the people who are on my Twitter, people who are on my Discord, any of those places, all of them, every single one of them, I am happy to just have here and be with me. And I appreciate you all very much. That was a long goodbye, but pretty much take care of yourselves. I will see you guys tomorrow, because tomorrow's my regular schedule. Tomorrow during regular schedule, this was like a scuffed, like in between stream when I started getting more information. So thank you so much for watching. This is the Mad Salvi saying bye bye.